to the community?
No, I think what we try and do, and that is a unique feature about Brevard, but our approach is very comparative and analytical. And the way we think about that is this, that if you look at the top 100 SMAs in the country, standard metropolitan statistical areas, which is how you realtors know what that means. But for our audience, it means major population centers. From a congestion standpoint, we're the 99th least congested.
Yes.
That's why I moved up here.
Yes.
So what we help people understand is that you can get from tip to bottom in an hour, whereas in some metropolitan areas like Phoenix, you really can't get from Phoenix to Mesa at rush hour in an hour anymore. You certainly can't do 20 miles on the 405 in L.A. in an hour. So it really is travel time, not miles. And then the other thing is when we help locate clients, it's how far you are away from I-95 becomes a factor. Is what we point out to people. Okay, so it does take 25 minutes to get from Titusville to north part of Palm Bay, perhaps. But if you are 3 minutes off the exit, that's not much difference than being in Melbourne and then being a 20-minute drive within the city of Melbourne to get there. So we are pretty thorough. It is an issue, but I don't think it hurts us.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's a neutral.
Yeah,
Not to mention beautiful coastline.
Yeah, of
Lots
course, the
of
drive
it.
is much
There
nicer.
you go.
Well, that's again when I moved up here. I had one of my jobs in South Florida. I was about 8 miles away, and it was 45 minutes to work every day. I now live 8 miles from my office, and it's 12 minutes every day. I put my car on cruise control, drive up A1A, and I'm at the office, and it's a substantially more pleasant 8 miles.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was the way originally the city kind of ended up laying itself out back in the 1900s or the 1800s, because up here in the Space Coast, as opposed to Broward County, where I'm also from, US 1 is very close to the intercoastal, and in some areas it's not wide enough to build anything on. So you've got you don't have that congestion on US 1 like we do in South Florida because of where they laid US 1 out, and various things like that I think play into the reason why we're going to hit that growth factor at some time, because we can't build in some areas. It's always going to stay the same because there's no place to go but up, and a lot of moratoriums are on, so we can't do that.
Yeah, we definitely don't have we're very far away from the density of southern Florida.
Yeah.
And density is really what creates the traffic jams.
Exactly. And then was not much being built out west of 95 because that's, again, our water source and so forth. So we're pretty well...
We still have plenty of land. I mean, the availability of land is really not a particularly big issue in Brevard. Wetlands, which is a Florida issue, is an issue
right
here, and we deal with that as best we can.
What do you see the forecast for this coming year? Can you talk about a couple things coming in, or is that all top secret?
Well, all our projects tend to be confidential, which not because we choose it that way. The clients insist on it.
Right.
Yeah.
In general terms, I think we have a lot more good projects ahead of us. I mean, there's some things that are negative happening in the state. The legislature did not fund the governor's closing fund. The closing fund was a tool that we frequently used on marquee sorts of projects. So that money is not there. It actually transfers the incentive burden to the local community, although the local community can never duplicate what the closing fund did. So we have some functional disadvantages, at least at the moment, but we're pursuing a lot of projects, and it may change the kind of project we can succeed at, but we'll do well. I mean, we get up every day and fight the good fight.
So you've got a pretty good staff there. There is about 10 or 12 people working at EDC.
I do, business development. We've got about 13 people in the EDC.
Highly visible to the community. It's great.
We're involved in a lot of things. Business attraction, retention is obviously one of them, but we're involved in policy issues, some training issues, as I mentioned earlier, and we try and take a leadership position on things that we think are important to the county's growth, but we do have a very good team at the EDC.
I understand from our off-air talks that it is not a political subdivision, but rather a private entity. However, are there public meetings or public events or things where people can communicate with the EDC?
We are very involved with the community. We have an annual meeting We also have, I should know these all by heart, but I think we have at least 4 quarterly meetings and a couple of investor updates. We have one coming up on January 19th, which is kind of a new format for us. We're going to hold it at the Main Street Pub, which we normally don't do. But part of it is we're hosting it with the 321 Millennial Group, and the focus of this particular meeting is talent attraction. How do we make the community more attractive to others who to fill some of these positions that we're creating? So, there's lots of opportunities for interaction. We have a very supportive business community. They attend many of our meetings. We get upwards of 300 for the annual meeting, usually 175 to 225 for board meetings and other things. It's important. We're private, but we are accountable, and we have a contract with the county. We have private investment from large and small companies, and they want to know that their money's being well spent.
Well, you brought up something very interesting to me. I have a son who's in the University of Florida right now, and one of the things I think about is what would it take to get him to come back to the Melbourne area versus maybe going elsewhere. Does the EDC, it sounds like you're working maybe with some other organizations to attract youth and talent to the area?
I mean, talent attraction is a long-term project, and lots of communities address it. We are not working on anything specific. We're working on lots of little things. We're working with Tourism Development Council to sort of get the message out about the positive things about, this community. We're doing different things to sort of raise the visibility of the community in certain areas, be it on college campuses, and working with employers like Northrop and Lockheed and trying to get them involved in certain recruitment things. Unfortunately, it's not an algebraic equation. You can't say, well, if I do X, Y, and Z, I'll get, this particular outcome. But I think communities that are looking forward realize that when you have a global shortage of technical talent, be it in aerospace or in any of the, the STEM, math and science, that as a community, you have to find ways to keep your young people here and to bring in the talent to this community. One of the byproducts, one of the good things, some of the employers now feel like, oh, geez, you've got bringing in so many people, we're fighting over the same people. It's not 100% true. What is true is this, that we've had such success in bringing so many Highline projects here, that if you're in graduate school in Oklahoma and you're thinking about where best to implement my career, increasingly Brevard County is getting on that list of places you want to look at, because you have choices here. You have Northrop, you have Lockheed, you have Rockwell, you have, I'll get people mad by not mentioning everybody, but the list has gotten that long. And that's a key for an area to succeed. It's a very important accomplishment.
They can make their roots here and grow and have options.
I mean, just put yourself in that position. Yeah. If you come out of graduate school, do you want to move to Des Moines, where your only employment opportunity, may be, however good a company it may be, but if you don't make it with XYZ technical company, then you have to leave. So people want to start families. They want to be connected to communities. They want to know that there are career paths that are not multimodal, but multi-directional anyway.
It just, again, I'm thinking as you're talking, and how does, if at all, the Patrick Air Force Base play into anything?
Well, Patrick is, makes an important economic contribution to the community. I mean, it employs people who spend money in the community, like any other, significant employer. In years gone by, before my time, the EDC was instrumental in helping Patrick Air Force Base avoid what they call a BRAC, which is a base realignment, which is basically a government word for we want to close that base. So we fought really hard to keep them vibrant. They're not necessarily a big factor in the day-to-day operations of what they do, but they do make a big impact on the community. They also play an important role in managing the range and space and other things. So they're really important.
You've been listening to Gregory Weiner, who is the Senior Director of Business Development with the Economic Development Commission here in Florida Space Coast. Also, Carolyn Wolf with Certified Mortgage Planners, who has brought this show to you today. And Jonathan Lack with Lack & Lack Chartered, a Waterview Realty, Waterview Title. And we started off our interview and we never answered the question, what is Quinta Model? Or Quinta Model, or how do you spell that?
Quinta Model.
Quinta Model.
It's quintamodal means, as Jonathan indicated, it's most communities have roadway access, and many communities have rail. Most, in fact, have rail. Some have water access, which we have, and of course, relatively few have space access, and we probably have the most abundant space access of any community. So that's what quintamodal means. It means those are the only 4 possible, as far as I know, forms of
unless we go into another dimension.
Right.
So
Where
should we
does
change
air
our county
transportation-
that way?
What's that?
Where does air transportation
Actually, air
come into that?
well, I don't know if that figures in the equation. Air transportation is not in that equation, but air and that it would be whatever comes after quintal. So that is Cinta, whatever.
Yeah.
Was
Cinquemodal.
Quintus
But
fine?
when you talk about it in economic development terms, you are really talking about the ones that we mentioned.
Right, yeah. In other words, that's you have
Air-
people
air-
can come in through
air
the port,
is,
go out on the rail, and shoot up into space.
Almost every community has air.
Well, I can say as a resident here, I have noticed the growth in just day-to-day restaurants, places to go, places to shop. It's nice to see you can see it and feel it, that we are starting to really bloom again.
I think so.
Seeing a lot of new construction going on. Well, before we get almost ready to close the show, Mr. Weiner, Gregory Weiner, please give out your information that you would like people to contact you, or go to your website, or any information on the EDC.
Well, obviously, you can learn more about the EDC at our website, which is www.spacecoastedc.org. Our office phone number is 321-638-2000. Feel free to call me if I'm not the right person. I have a capable staff, and we'll direct you in the right place.
If they go to the website, they can go on to the staff and see who is in charge
They
of
can
what.
see there's also a little button on there which says "Tell us about your project." So if you're considering an expansion or coming to the area, you can provide some information, but you can certainly always pick up the phone and call or send an email from the website.
Okay, and Carolyn Wolf with Certified Mortgage Planners, tell us how to get a hold of you and what they can do to maybe help get themselves ready and willing and able to get a new mortgage perhaps in the new year, new mortgage.
All right. It's Carolyn Wolf, and my license number is 268-538. The best way to reach me is my cell phone. It's 321-795-9103. Or you can always shoot me an email at carolyn@floridalendingpro.com. And the best advice I can give anybody is just give me a call or send me an email. Get started, because it's never a bad idea to kind of see where your financial situation is at least a good 6 months prior to.
I think one of the biggest tips you told on a couple shows ago was you're a mortgage broker as opposed to a banker. So if they decide, let me go shop around and see what the best rate is, and if they go to bank A, B, C, D, they're all going to pull their credit history. And after a while, those are dings on their credit.
Correct.
And their credit scores start going down. With you, they pull the credit one time, and you can shop a dozen mortgage financial institutions, and it's not going to hurt their credit because you're only pulling it once.
Correct. And everybody's unique in every way. So there's always,
That's exactly right.
much broader range of products.
And Jonathan, what is your advice today? What advice from
Bye.
Goodbye. No, bye.
Well, if you have any questions regarding real estate, transactions of any sort, commercial, residential, you're buying, you're selling, you just have questions about real estate, you can reach me at area code 321-953-5115, or our website is lacklaw.com. That's LACKLAW.com, and I'll be happy to assist any way I can.
And our next week, we're going to also touch base a little bit on the Florida's Hardest Hit program. So anytime you want to go back and look at our archives, we have lots of things to look at. Please join us on our Facebook page at Your Hometown Solutions. And don't forget to request your free magazine, Extra Equity, at our website, yourhometownsolutions.com. We're here to advise, help, and so until next time, we're your Hometown Solutions team reminding you there's no place like home.